what's up, everyone? Welcome to Screen Smash. I'm your host, Dan Morris. Joining me tonight, I have Jake Brown.
What up?
Iain McParland.
What up?
And Nick McKay.
Hi.
We got through an entire intro where somebody didn't just make random noises. I can call it a day.
I can go back and redo mine.
Yeah. Just tell me the wedge. We got to
retake the Louis one.
Bring the spoon energy. Because we're talking about Resident Evil and No, but seriously, tonight we're actually going to be talking about the latest Spider-Man 2 trailer. Should I say Marvel's Spider-Man? Is that more appropriate? We got some Spider super fans, the Spooderman fans up in here to talk about Spider-Man. And then we'll close this out with Game of the Year contenders, as we're a little bit more than halfway through the year at this point. But holy crap, has 2023 been a banger for games so far? Damn. I think it's going to be a tough call for Game of the Year. I see that. I mean it, but yes, but no. Anyways.
But no. Is it though?
Is it? It depends. All right. So, who wants to tell us about Spooderman? I mean, Spider-Man.
Get it right the first time.
I'll go first.
Let's go, Nick. Let's go.
Let's go. So we just got a story trailer, which dropped end of last week. Which is like, I think you can kind of call it the first story trailer, because we did get like a little cinematic with Craven during the PlayStation showcase. But we got a story trailer which gave us like so many details. And my absolute favorite thing is that a lot of the sort of little bits of the trailer confirmed some things, which I think is really, really good. So like one thing, I was actually a little bit worried about it, because the gameplay trailer, we saw Peter Parker in his black symbiote suit. And I was a bit worried that was going to be all of his gameplay, and we weren't going to play as like him in his, classic
like there'd
suit.
be no transition from like regular Spider-Man to like Spider-Man with the symbiote to then Venom.
Yes. Okay. Yes. But I do think we did see a little bit of snippets of Peter in his normal suit. So I think that he'll have his own abilities, and then there'll be the symbiote abilities, which brings me to my first talking point. Now, this is very much a theory that I have, but in the gameplay trailer, we saw Peter with the symbiote suit using very symbiote abilities. Like he was using the symbiote to like extend out and grab people. And there was one where he grabbed like 4 guys and then slammed them down.
Which was sick.
I mean, Peter Parker, which was so sick. Peter Parker can't do that without the symbiote. So that like ability is like very much a Venom ability. So I'd love to ask your guys' opinion before we even move on. Do you guys think that, but is there any chance that Venom is a playable character in Spider-Man 2?
Ooh, no.
I mean,
because I was thinking maybe when the symbiote detaches from Peter and goes on to its next host, which I have another theory about that, I'm thinking that maybe towards the end of the game, you might get a section where you play as Venom, and then maybe he becomes, I mean, it's a long shot, but maybe he becomes a character you can use in free roam at the end of the game. But I don't know, like maybe is there a little section where you might play as him?
I think I'll say this is more of a want than expect it to actually do. If it follows that trajectory of like Peter getting the symbiote, he kind of like starts to evolve his abilities with it, and then a Venom comes out of it. If there's a section in the game where he's full into the black suit and full on embracing the symbiote, and then Venom actually takes over, and there's a part where it actually transitions to you are Venom, but you're still Peter on the inside, and it's Venom where you're playing as Venom, but Peter's inside going, no, stop it, and like he can't control it. And then there's like a dramatic struggle where he finally like takes control back, and that leads up to him finally like extracting the symbiote and then making Venom a separate villain in that moment.
Yeah, I definitely kind of see.
Interesting.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ian.
No, you go ahead, Jake. Superfan Jake.
No, like thinking about it. I represent Spooder Squad. I definitely think, like, everybody's probably thinking the same thing. Like, oh, can we be Venom? Like, Insomniac's not stupid. They're probably thinking, like, when we first saw Miles, we're like, will we be able to play as Miles? of course, they had the little spin-off game, and you did. I definitely think, at least for this game, I can see there being DLC to where you play as Venom and you have your own missions and whatnot. Because like my kind of theory is like the symbiote will be introduced throughout the entire game, but like I don't think Venom himself will be like. I think he'll kind of come in like that second act, like second, third act of the game. Because I have thoughts too on how that goes, how that transitions toward the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see it being a DLC.
Same sort of thing as when Doc Ock appeared. He was not there around for most of Remastered, right? The 2018 Spider-Man. And my thoughts is that Venom is his own character. It like the symbiote takes in like characteristics of its host. And Venom. I don't think there's ever been a Venom Spider-Man. There's been a Venomized Spider-Man with the symbiote suit, but Venom is when he attaches to his real host. So that would be Eddie Brock in the movies and in the comics and stuff. And whoever it is going to be, I know you've got a theory, Nick, so I'll let you do your theory in a sec of whoever it's going to be in the game. That's just my 2 cents. But I mean, Insomniac, they may just pull the rug up from under me yet again. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Venom towards the end of the story. I think you're right. I think it'll be like Doc Ock. I think that like Kraven will be like Martin Lee, Mr. Negative from the first game, like where he's the recurring villain, and he brings his faction of henchmen as well to fight. And then I think Venom will kind of what I think at like sort of the end of like an act 2, I think that Peter's going to lose himself completely to the symbiote. And something I'm so excited for is I think that Miles is going to have to try and take him down, and we're going to have like a Spidey v Spidey boss fight, which sounds like such a rad idea. And I think then he's going to lose the symbiote, and it's going to attach itself. I think it's pretty much confirmed. So in the trailer, Harry Osborn, who's now out of his coma or whatever, he says he wants to heal the world. And then towards the end of the trailer, just before we get a proper good look at Venom says he wants to heal the world in his cool Venom voice. So I think it's pretty much confirmed that Harry Osborn's going to be the host. But I do think it's my theory that they'll beat Venom at the end. The symbiote will detach again. And I think in like a mid-credit scene, post-credit scene, I think it'll find Eddie Brock, who has already been established in the world. It was just in a collectible, but he does exist in this world. I think it'll find him and then lead into like DLC, maybe a Venom solo game. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, after that Wolverine game that we're still waiting to hear about.
Yeah. Second trailer.
I kind of agree.
I think they haven't said anything about the Wolverine game. I think that Wolverine, I think that he's going to be in a mid or post credit scene.
Well, Wolverine,
like they'll start doing like a Marvel style post credits, like
Wolverine,
Marvel
or
movies.
maybe like exactly. Like I think he'll like see the news of like Spider-Man, Venom fighting and like wherever, and he'll be like, whatever, and then he walks past, starting to build that universe.
I definitely think Harry, I don't know if the entire game he'll have the symbiote, because it at the end of the first one, it looked like, it could just be my perspective of it, but it looked like it was like rejecting him, but it looked like he was keeping him alive because like he was sick. Like, I don't know exactly what sick was. I don't know if it was like cancer. I don't know what it was. So it's like, I don't know if it fully bonded with him. So I'm thinking maybe it's enough to where like maybe like Peter tries to get it off of him or whatever. And like in the first act, the second act, he gets the symbiote. Peter takes it from him, possibly maybe killing Harry or like putting him back in a coma. Which I'll get to that in a second. Like, I think something's going to happen to Harry because something always does. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's going to trigger Norman turning into the Green Goblin, blaming Spider-Man. Like, you took the thing healing my son. So now I'm going to come after you. So that's what I'm kind of thinking there. But I think so then like the second half, middle of the game, it's going to play out kind of like how we saw in the gameplay trailer of, you're fighting Lizard and Kraven. Like I feel like Kraven might not be as a big of a character like we think he is. Like I kind of think of him as like Martin Lee from the first game. Because when you first started playing it, you're thinking, oh, that's the main villain for the entire game. But it wasn't like Ian said, they surprised us with Doc Ock. And I think that's what they're kind of going to do in this one is, okay, and that's just like half the game. The next is, I could definitely see Miles fighting Peter in like that big emotional boss battle. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I could see then the symbiote getting off and then maybe finding Eddie Brock. Like, I think they said that Eddie's not going to have the symbiote, but like they also said that Dr. Octopus wasn't, in the game and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can see whatever they want. I mean,
it'd be interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do. I mean, in the trailer, we do see Harry walking like with a cane. I think there's like one quick little, quick little scene with that. He's like limping. Yeah. So I think he is sick, and the symbiote was kind of keeping him alive. So obviously, like it'll sort of separate from him, and it'll kind of be like, well, what does he do? I think maybe like him trying to research how to fix himself is what he means by like heal the world. Like if he can find a cure for this, he can help everyone.
I wonder if that would play into the Kraven at all.
That driving it could be. I think Kraven's there for Lizard though.
True. How much liberty do you think Insomniac actually has with the storytelling with this Spider-Man, or are they pulling directly from any series of comics?
I think they've got some leeway.
Something from a little bit of everything.
Because has Harry ever had the symbiote before? Like, I don't recall any storyline where Harry.
Did he have it in Spectacular? Or who had it in Spectacular?
Eddie Brock.
Was it Eddie still? I thought somebody had it. I know Flash has it in different media.
Flash has had it a few times. I think Harry's had it once before. I'd have to check.
I can't remember what it was though, but I think Harry had it once for something.
But you're going off of the notion of Harry saying, I want to heal the world, and then Venom saying it too, to believe that it's Harry that actually is using the symbiote at that point.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a bit too on the nose, but it's the same line. Like it kind of feels like that's like Ian was saying, like pulling the rug. It could be like, oh, it's too obvious. So everyone's thinking, oh, it's Harry. And then all of a sudden it's like...
I watched that trailer and I never for a second thought it was Harry. I just thought, oh, there's going to be this alternate like side story going on with Harry and his father to set up for Goblin and etc. Down the road, either as a side story in the game or even like DLC. Like, they could drop a DLC pack that's like, oh, now there's the Goblin and he's got to fight Green Goblin and try to help his father realize, et cetera, about Harry. But again, like they could take the story in so many different directions and places, especially now that they've brought Miles into the fold.
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry, I saw.
Sorry,
we keep going. Go on, Nick. You go.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say. I think with the Goblin, I think they're very much. I mean, they teased it in the first game. And I think the second game, they're very much going to tease it a little bit more. And like we were saying a little bit earlier, I think something tragic is going to happen to Harry. I don't think it kind of sucks, but I don't think I see Harry Osborn surviving the second game. And I think that's what's going to spur Norman to say, like, he's gone. And now he becomes the Green Goblin, who's going to be the major villain for a third game. So I think that this game's, I just wrote an article about this now. I think that this game is going to be like The Empire Strikes Back. For Spider-Man trilogy, this is like the really dark one, and then the next game is going to be a culmination of all story elements and a lot more sort of optimistic. But I definitely see like the Green Goblin becoming the major enemy, the major villain of the third game.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, the first one wasn't like all rainbows and raindrops. That's not a saying, but hey-o. And
roll with it.
Well, there was a few like character deaths in the first one. Spoilers if you know played.
Yeah, but so definitely had some emotional moments.
Yeah. So I do see Harry being the Venom for a bit at least, and then he'll lose it. But I don't see him starting off as Venom and healing with the symbiote. But again, I'm wrong a lot. What I'm more not worried about, what I'm looking forward to is how they structure the side missions this time. And the side missions, there's such a big rogues gallery on Spider-Man, just like there is for Batman. And I just want there to be interesting like side missions where you do different things, and not just have to go to a construction site and beat a load of people.
Or having me like chase after infected birds for 20 minutes.
Pigeons.
Like, thanks.
Let those pigeons loose.
Fly through gas clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want something, like the Arkham Knight did those missions so well with like Firefly and all that jazz. You could do something like that. I'd be really interested to see if there's something like that in that Spider-Man 2.
They have to, because that's the only really bad thing from the first two games, is that all the side quests and like those dynamic sort of street crimes that trigger, like they become so repetitive because it's like the same 3 different activities every time.
Does anybody remember the Spider-Man 2? My balloon! You have to track down the balloon. Oh my god. That was the worst freaking side mission. Little side quest. It's like, forget your balloon, little kid.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I agree though. I definitely agree with like Arkham Knight definitely nailed it in terms of like side quests. So if like Spider-Man can do that, then it's a perfect game.
Yeah.
So
and I just want to fly around the streets of New York, sometimes flying as well with Miles with that wingsuit. But it feels so good.
That's what I'm curious about. Like, I'm curious how big. Like, they really haven't referenced much of like Miles' storyline. Like, they had that one little beat where he was talking to Martin Lee about like, oh, you took everything from me. But it's like that's the only thing we really kind of got. Like, I'm curious. Like, are they going to spend a little bit more time with Miles? That'd be cool.
So there was another nice moment in the trailer where Miles's mom Rio is talking to Peter in his Spider-Man suit. So I don't think like Rio knows Peter is Spider-Man, but Rio says something along the lines of like, Miles, he looks up to you and he's looking to you for guidance. So I think Miles is going to kind of, lose his way maybe a little. I think that, Peter becoming the black symbiote suit Spider-Man, I think he's going to start being like a bad teacher and start being a little bit more neglectful. And I think Miles is going to kind of maybe lose his way. And I think very much like one of the big emotional parts of the story will be Miles and Peter's relationship really sort of tearing apart. So how much Miles is included in that is, I suppose, remains to be seen. But I hope they do enough with him.
Yeah. I mean, to make him a playable character, you would hope so. Yeah. So I'm also kind of curious though, because it's like I noticed it's like he's applying for college somewhere. I don't know if it references where, but I'm kind of curious if that's kind of like his exit out of the game and into his own series. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Snap, that could be.
As long as we don't get any Mary Jane stealth.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god! Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. Nobody asked for it.
It's gonna happen, though, man. It's gonna happen.
It better not. It really better not.
Stealth is barely fun in a superhero game to begin with, unless you're Batman or Spider-Man.
You know what's gonna happen though, because that scene in the trailer where Mary Jane's hiding behind like the door or whatever, and you see Spider-Man jump out. You know it, man. You know that's gonna be hide from Peter.
Insomniac's over there like, this is people's favorite part of the game. Oh,
yeah, we're going to do it.
It'd be so good if they did like a bait and switch.
Man. No, let me be Spider-Man. Let me go. Someone's sneaking up on me. Let me go find them.
Let me find this bitch.
Mary Jane.
So good if they did like a bait and switch though, and then just like went to Mary Jane and went into third person.
Yeah.
And then the camera just kept moving, and you were like, "Oh, thank you."
And then it went to Rio, and you have to do the same thing with Rio instead.
That would be awesome.
That would be super troll.
I want it now. I kind of want it. If it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The game's a 3 out of 10 for me.
There's an hour section where Rio's
we need Rio style sections
for politics.
I will say I definitely second the side quest part of the game, because that was my biggest killer when it came to Spider-Man 2018. Was like, the story was great, gameplay is great, I loved everything, but my god, some of those side quests and the just like the filler, it just got super duper like, I'm so tired, especially when the game kind of forced it on you, because there'd be those portions of like, well, I got some time to kill before I can go see Aunt May. You know, I better go, solve some crimes. And you just got to run around like beating people up until it finally says, now you can continue with the main mission. Like, screw that.
That's the bathroom break.
I don't beat open world games unless I can just mainline the story. So don't make me not be able to do that.
See, I thought that was really clever when they were like, I just need I need to wait for this to start, so I better go on patrol for a bit, because that's being a superhero. Sometimes you just patrol. It's really clever, but But I'll agree with you in the sense that it sucked because the side missions and things got so tedious and so tiresome.
If there was like,
I was like, I get why this is here, but this is boring.
I'd be all for it if it was like, oh, I have to wait to go see May, or I got to go talk to, whoever at some time. But in the meantime, I got to go do this side quest where I got to talk to Harry, that then turns into this other mission that has to deal with some other smaller, villain. That's like, oh, this is a fun, interesting side quest. Then bring me back to the main storyline. That would be way better. Give me like Red Dead Redemption or The Witcher style side quests, where the side quests are almost, if not better, than the main story. Come on.
That'd be cool. And how about that freaking?
Yeah, that's definitely a lot better.
Real quick, like how about that the PS5 and the controller? My God, that looks awesome.
Have you pre-ordered?
Thing of beauty.
I was freaking out until I noticed you can actually get the skins, the plates. Because I was like, I was about to say, I can't pay $500-$600 for another console right now. I can't do it. And then I read the article. I was like, thank you. Oh my God.
They look sick.
So that was the beauty of faceplates, and like the 360 did that too, where you could just buy the faceplates instead of having to buy another console. I'm very impressed with Sony, because that was an easy way for them to just go, no, you want it, you gotta buy the console.
You gotta buy it.
I don't understand why they've not done it up until now. They've just brought it out for Spider-Man 2.
They have colors, like basic colors, I think, but they don't have like any.
They didn't have like a God of War Ragnarok one, for example.
Yeah. Did that have a special edition one?
I don't know. They had
it had a console. Yeah, it had a console bundle, but it only had a controller. That controller is amazing looking.
Oh.
Yeah,
right. Oh, it's so yeah. I was playing some Spider-Man before this. So.
The only thing that kills me about those controllers is I wouldn't want to actually use them.
Yeah.
Because they're so nice. Like,
but it's fun. It's fun. That's the point of having it. If you can't use it.
Display.
I'm just weird like that. But yeah, I think that I agree that I like the sleek black PS5 and controller with the red Spider-Man logo. It definitely pops better than like the older style. And I like how they did that transition in the trailer too, where it goes from the white on red to the black on red. And it's like, ooh, that's sleek. That was nice.
So the only thing I was kind of sitting here thinking, I know Dan and I were talking about this kind of earlier today. We were talking about the how do you guys feel about the face models?
Yeah, we can get into that.
I don't know if you want to get into it or not.
So I legit thought that Mary Jane's face model was swapped. Like she got the same treatment Peter got in the first game when they upgraded to PS5, because she looks so different.
She does. She really does. I don't know if it's the hair. I just don't know if because the hair's not freaking flipped or not.
It's the hair.
He looks like she's freaking 40, man.
They look so much. All of them look so much older.
Except Peter.
And somehow Peter de-ages, and I blame Tom Holland. That's what
superpowers like radioactive spider does for you. Those the radioactive spider skin treatment / face remodeler. That's how radioactive spiders work. Don't you know this?
They keep you from
the
aging.
Secret to youth.
You just never age, or you start Benjamin buttoning.
And like I literally, the moment I saw the trailer, when you saw Harry at the beginning, for a split second, I thought it was the PS4 Peter.
That's what I thought.
Like a split second, like I was like,
those first few frames where it's Harry talking to Peter, I was like, wait, who's talking to who right now? I was like, and it wasn't until Harry actually said Pete when they were facing the other one, I was like, oh, that's the new Peter. And then it went back to Harry, and I'm like, but that looks like old Peter.
I was like, what is going on?
It was like a mirror image, him talking to himself.
Yeah,
I personally prefer the old one, but I know we won't get them back.
I also do.
Like I understand that, but I do prefer the old one. The new one, just I feel like it was just riding on the success of Tom Holland.
Yeah, I don't know. The new face model for Peter Parker just doesn't do anything for me, and I don't very much like it.
He's just too young, man. It's like the other one just looked believable to me, because this is supposed to be a more experienced Spider-Man. He's like Spider-Man for
he's supposed to be older,
8 years now.
Right.
He's like he's had experience. He's grown. He's not, that little 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, he's the father figure, isn't he, for Miles? So yeah.
But that's the thing. Miles looks older than him. And that's what messes with me. And then MJ could be both their freaking moms. What's going on?
MJ is the new Aunt May.
I say MJ's Aunt May.
I mean, in the story now, MJ's been working at the Daily Bugle again with, I think, with J. Jonah Jameson. So maybe that's aged her significantly in the last 10 months.
Stress,
The stress, man, it'll kill you.
She's just been dyeing her hair to hide all the grays.
I hope they bring him back because I think in this one he's back at the Daily Bugle. I think I read. Yeah, so I'm curious. Is he still going to have the little podcast thing that you do when he's swinging? Because that was, oh my God, that was perfect hearing that.
I love those.
Those were great. Yeah.
He's a man.
I hope they keep those podcasts. Yeah. But I just love this one podcast he has when I think it's the DLC in the first game where he says, now there's not one Spider-Man, but there's two Spider-Men swinging around town, and he starts losing it and he stops and he's like, I'm having a heart attack. Jared, drive me to the hospital. I'm having a
Oh man.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love those podcasts. And whenever you have a dynamic crime event thing, if you engage in it, then it stops the podcast. So I always used to be like, you guys can sort yourselves out. I'm listening to my podcast.
I'm listening to Jonah over
someone's getting assaulted. I'm like, yeah.
Hang on.
Hang in there, lady. Hang in there. I'll be with you in a minute.
He's almost at his point. Come on.
Oh, God.
Good stuff. Do you guys have any other thoughts on Spider-Man before we move on?
All the thoughts, man.
We could go on for hours, but we're not going to.
There's so much more, but I think we've touched on everything important.
One final question for Spider-Man. Will it be a contender for Game of the Year? Bum, bum, bum.
Stay tuned.
Nice segue.
Yes, so now we're going to talk about Game of the Year contenders and who we think might win Game of the Year 2023. Then again, just to set some groundwork, Game of the Year is very subjective and every outlet usually has their own pick. It's very rare that everyone agrees on the same game and everyone usually has their own particular takes and picks. Most notably, the bigger ones are usually like the Game Awards or IGN and some of the other bigger outlets like them. So those are usually the ones that people most often look at and go with. But I wanted to talk about this, especially because 2023 has been a banger of a year for games so far. There are a lot of really damn good games. There's 3 games that IGN gave 10 out of 10s. Of course, of which Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime Remaster, and Resident Evil 4. Fucking love Resident Evil 4. I'm really happy.
There's the Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4. I told you we're going to talk about Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil. But there's also a lot of other great games that got 9s and 8s, but they're even the 8s are damn good games. People like to complain that, there's no games coming out. What are you even looking at?
Dude.
What are you talking about? This is the hardest year I've ever had as a gamer because there are so many games to play and I don't have enough time in the world to play all of them. I have probably at least a dozen brand new games that came out this year alone that I have not played through yet. Or I bought them and I haven't even opened the package yet. So I'm still playing other ones. So there's a lot. There's a lot of good games out there. I wanted to go around and ask you guys, so far at this point in 2023, what would be your personal pick for Game of the Year of the games you have played? If you can choose one.
It's dead easy for me because I've not played any of those ones apart from Jedi Survivor. I don't personally think that it's going to be Game of the Year because of all of the damn bugs that it came out with. It was rough starting. I got it day one. It was a little bit rough, but PS5 was better than a lot of what I've seen on PC. But I've still fell through the map a few times. It's a damn good game. That I love the story. I love the puzzle platforming. There was a lot of puzzle platforming, but I'm a Crash Bandicoot fan, so that doesn't bother me. I was a little bit less so enamored with the more open worldiness of it. But out of all the top contenders for Game of the Year this year, that's the one that would be mine. because it's my type of game. The rest of them aren't really my type of game.
I mean, there's a lot of big games that have come out. I mean, besides the 3, big ones, like it could be anything at this point. If there was anything else you played that you were like, you know what, that's a damn good game and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Ian. Like a lot of the games that, like you mentioned, I haven't touched them. Like I'm still playing games from 2 years ago, still trying to catch up. So it's like, ask me what 2021's game of the year is.
Oh yeah,
I might have a better answer for you.
I'm playing 2021's game of the year. I'm trying to beat Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Chimichanga. I love it.
It's a really good game.
Good
game.
It's too long. Game. It's too long. It's great, but it's too long. I have like 80 hours on it and I still haven't beaten it.
What?
Too many side quests.
Too much side quests. Too many birds to chase after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm definitely digging Diablo 4. And that's coming from somebody who hasn't played like any of the Diablo games. And I jumped into this one completely blind. And I just heard, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Like I got enough money to get it. So I picked it up and it is, I've been hooked. Like I've been playing it since day one. The story is great. The cinematic cutscenes, God, like Blizzard just knows how to make those cutscenes. It's a real grindy game, which is sometimes I love it. Sometimes I hate it. But like I semi love and hate it at the same time. It depends. It's definitely a lot funner with friends. Playing it by yourself, it's only fun, I think, maybe playing the story. After that, like I kind of have to play with somebody else. Otherwise, I lose.
We haven't played yet.
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna play it. No, like research. It's very addicting though. Like I already went through, and me and my buddy, we went and got the achievement for playing on hardcore, to where your character permanently, like if he dies, he's dead.
Permadeath.
Your character gets deleted. He gets deleted.
No, thank you.
So, and like we're achievement hunters, so it's like, all right, we got to get the achievements. So you had to get to level 50 on hardcore mode with your character, and oh my god, dude! Like you talk about sweating bullets. Like levels 1 through 25, that's not that bad. If I die, I die. I can start over. Whatever.
If he dies, he dies.
When I was in those 40s, I was like, oh my God. And my buddy actually got taken out in like the 40s. And I was just like, oh no. The freaking tree just pops out of nowhere and just pop, like one hit him. And I was like, dude, I was like, I want to cry for you. Oh my God. So he made another character.
It's kind of hilarious though, right? It's kind of hilarious.
It was because in the long run, because he made it caught back up to me, and he died again, I think, in the process at like level 15.
Oh no, this poor guy.
So we caught back up. He got back up to me, but I was just like, I think he was like 41 or 42, and I was like 48, 49. So all the enemies we were fighting, I'm like, you can go ahead of me. You can do all this. I'm like, I am on the freaking doorstep of getting this achievement. I was like, I'm not going to get one hit out of nowhere and lose it, because I'll break the disc. But it's addicting, man. Like I tell myself, like, I want to put it down. I want to try other games. I can't. So like, I don't know if it'll get game of the year, but I think that's my pick for my personal game of the year.
Fair.
By the way, I think real quick.
Oh,
my hardcore character I did it with, and this is why I made it to 50. I made a druid, the shapeshifter, and I named him Maui. I think that's why.
Yeah. The power of Maui.
The power of Maui.
The power of Maui.
The Maui, the shapeshifter. That's it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a really interesting year. I think that there's probably multiple games released this year that are Game of the Year winners. I think that there's games that probably would have won Game of the Year if they were released in 2020 and 2021, which is like really interesting. I mean, I think like I haven't played any of the new games because they're really expensive, but I think any year that a Legend of Zelda game comes out, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a done deal already, but I think Zelda has to be the front runner and always is the front runner. So I will predict right now and say that I think Legend of Zelda is going to take it. But I would like to see Spider-Man 2 get up there. I think it's got the potential to be a Game of the Year winner. I think Resident Evil 4 remake, with what they've done with that game, is just brilliant. And then anytime a Diablo game comes out, it's also a contender. So I think those 4 games alone are, like I said, Game of the Year winners. Also, all 4 of those games are games that are in a franchise already. They're already established. It's very rare that you see like a new IP win Game of the Year. So not only do these games have that backing, but they also are damn well-made AAA video games. So I think it's like literally the best of the best games this year. Like you wish you could kind of give it to all 4 of those games, I would say. But Legend of Zelda is just gonna take it because it's Legend of Zelda.
You're probably not wrong.
You're not wrong, but yeah, I was going to get to that point. But since you said you haven't really been able to play many of the new games, that's a fair take on that. And like, I wanted to say, like, you make a really great point of like, this is the year where it's like, can we have like multiple Game of the Years? Can there be like 3?
I would say.
I think it's only fair at this point with how many games came out, and especially like you said, if Zelda hadn't come out this year, there are so many other games that absolutely could take it. Like, I would personally pick Resident Evil 4 because I'm a massive Resident Evil 4 fan, but I'm also a massive Zelda fan. I've played through Zelda or Resident Evil 4 like 4 times already, and I don't get bored of it. Whereas Zelda, it's like it's taken me a lot longer, but because it's such a massive game and I have so little time as it is, and I'm trying to play so many different games at once. And like Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal, and I loved Breath of the Wild, and I love Zelda, so it's going to be really hard. But it's like you said, it's be that point where I'm like, yeah, we all know Zelda's great, but what else, could possibly, get that? And especially with a year where like Final Fantasy 16 came out and everybody's loving Final Fantasy 16 and how amazing it is. And what if Zelda didn't come out this year? What if it came out last year like it was supposed to initially? Maybe Final Fantasy 16 would get it. It's so hard to say. And then again, we're only a little bit more than halfway in the year. So
there's still loads of good games to come out.
You've got Spider-Man 2 to come out. You've got, Starfield to come out. You've got the new, I'm going to say Forza, but no one else is going to talk about Forza as a possible Game of the Year contender. That's not the point. It's just talking about big games that are still coming. The Lies of P. Lies of P. Yeah, Ian, you and I were bang in sync on that.
Just the demo seems to have hit the spot with a lot of people.
It's good.
It's Bloodborne with Pinocchio. Bloodborne's lovely-ish. I took 7 years, probably the same amount of time as you did, Dan, to complete that game. But its quality is unmatched. It's just I can't do it to myself anymore. And Lies of P looks like that sort of vibe. And
I think Lies of P is a damn good contender as well. Like, I don't think it's going to go anywhere near Game of the Year, but I could see it being on like people's list of like the best games of the year. I want to shout out Remnant 2 as well. Like, if you don't know Remnant 2, if you don't know Remnant, check out this game. It topped the sales charts on Steam for this week. It just came out. It's actually technically available tonight. Tomorrow is the full release. It came out early access on Friday, but Remnant is a Souls-like shooter. So it does the Souls-like, but as a gun third-person shooter game where you're running around blasting monsters, and it has a lot of the same mechanics. But they did something very interesting with that series. Remnant 2 was looking really good. They made a lot of tweaks and adjustments to improve upon the first game. And I've played a little bit already. Like, we got the early access with the pre-order for it. And oh my God, it's a lot of fun. It's one of those games where it's like, they didn't worry too much about making it look like the most amazing thing in the world, but they made damn sure it's fun to play. And it does exactly that. Like, I was thinking about the contrary opinion of how like Remnant 2 is just damn good fun to play. And then you've got the flip side of like studios that put all this time and energy and effort into making a game look really freaking good, but they don't make sure the game plays good. And then it's kind of like, well, this was a shit show, like, what's the point? So
Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey.
Yeah.
I mean, those games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, they look great, but they are terrible to play.
That's a
I'm
hot
just
take.
going to say.
They're just too big. They're fine. But
Yeah, they're too big.
They're pretty big. Pretty big.
Yeah. Like I'm looking forward to Mirage being like a more condensed linear experience.
I want to see more.
That could be another contender as well. I mean, it is still a AAA title.
Nah, I can't see it.
I don't see
this one.
I don't think maybe Ubisoft game will ever win Game of the Year.
It's one of those franchises that people are like, oh, I've seen it. Just like Call of Duty will never get it. Sadly.
Yeah, that's true.
No. Yeah.
Call of Duty will never get Game of the Year.
but they'll always get 9s and 10s.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
I have a quick sidebar. Oh, go ahead.
I have a quick sidebar. It's a bit of a tangent, but so the PlayStation Plus free games for July. One of them is Call of Duty. Is it Cold War?
Yep.
I think it's like not the latest one, but the one before.
Last year's.
So I was like, I generally do like the Call of Duty campaigns. Mm-hmm. So I was like, cool, let me try the campaign. I'm not interested in multiplayer or zombies or whatever. Let me try these out. It was 187 gigs.
Yeah, you have to install Warzone first.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it's
so
dumb.
I was like,
don't they give you the option to like, I don't have enough which parts of the game to install?
I was looking for that option, but it gave me 3 different things I could install.
They do,
but it wouldn't let me, and I gave up on it. So I just
said
cancel.
They have like a Call of Duty launcher with Warzone is standard, so you have to install Warzone and then you have to install it.
I played it with Xbox, and I could swear I remember being able to download like the story and zombies and Warzone all separately. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think it's like Ian saying though, you have to install Warzone.
Yeah, the old Warzone as well, which is going away soon.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, tangent.
Tangents. No, but why are games so big? Like I was keen to try out the new NBA. Like I've never played a basketball game as well. That was 160 gigs. Like, why are these games so big? Like it makes no sense to me. And then you play like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is beautiful. All the graphics are incredible, and that's 60 gigs.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with like the way they render the visuals or something. Maybe like they're doing like max resolution textures and then they don't compress it at all. So every texture is like 1 gigabyte. It's like,
well, that was my tangent. Sorry. That's
fair. That's fair.
All I know is when I downloaded Deadpool like a month ago, I think it was 6 gigs. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to delete anything from my hard drive. Yes.
I know.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle of like, I got to make space for another game. What am I willing to sacrifice off my hard drive?
I assume everything starts at 40 gigs and up. That's just kind of like my mindset of whenever I get a new game.
Yeah, even like Diablo is like 80 gigs, isn't it?
Dude, like it's sad that consoles now, it's like you can have 4 or 5 good games on your console, on your hard drive before you got to upgrade or start deleting.
Yeah.
It's another conversation.
That is another conversation.
Yeah. Next time on Screen Smash.
Next time.
But yeah, I wanted to just say, like, if I had to pick a personal Game of the Year contender, Resident Evil 4 is definitely up there for me. I finally started playing Metroid Prime Remaster, and oh my God, it's so good. It's so incredible. I can't praise it enough because I said this before the show started. It does something that we talk about on the show all the time that we wish games could do. It feels like playing the game for the first time again. That's such a magical thing that nothing ever pulls off. I played the original Metroid Prime on GameCube back in 2001, 2002. I forget now when that came out. I've dipped my toe in it a few times since then. I've gone back to it here and there, but it's one of those games that was such a perfect experience. And like, I never felt compelled to like go and play through it again, like over and over again, like I do some games. And now I'm playing it, the remaster. And I'm like, it's super nostalgic. It's giving me all this nostalgic vibes of like, oh, I remember this. I remember this music. I remember these creatures. I remember doing this, but it feels new again. And it's just, it's magical. I can't say enough about it.
Is it a remaster or like a full on remake?
It's a remaster. To be, they did upgrade all the textures. Like everything's been redone, but it is the original game in its truest form. They have up-res all the models. They've up-res all the textures. Everything has got a nice new clean coat of paint on it. They've also modernized the controls to play more, appropriately on a modern console. So it actually feels more like you're playing an actual shooter and less of we're trying to make a shooter, but we can't make a shooter on the GameCube because the game really isn't made for it. The lock-on system's still there, but it's not as necessary feeling. You can still use it, and it's still great to like snap to an enemy and blast them. But you can also kind of get away with just shooting normal, like you're playing a regular shooter game, and it feels great. I love it.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. I mean, it's. I think you hit the nail on the head there, where you say like if you're gonna make a remaster or a remake, it needs to kind of recapture what made that game so good. I mean, as you were saying that earlier, it reminds me of me playing Tomb Raider Anniversary for the first time, which is like it's not necessarily a remake, but it's kind of like a retelling of the very first game from 1996. And that game was incredible because you go through exactly the same levels. Like the layouts are very much the same, and the feel and the vibe of it felt very similar. So for me, it was such a great experience because that the first game I grew up with on the PS1. So to recapture that, I think in a remake is so powerful. I think that's why RE4 did so well as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like I agree. Anniversary did a good job of doing that too, and I think it's interesting that 2 out of the 3 games that have won 10 out of 10s from IGN this year are either remakes or remasters of classic games. But they're both really, really good remakes or remasters. Like Resident Evil 4 is a full, from the ground up remake. Everything in that game is new and different from the original game. It tells the same story, but in a different way with different gameplay. Whereas Metroid is the original game. It is the original game. That's the difference between a remake and a remaster.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that these are 2 of the best games that came out this year. And like we talked about it before about like established IPs, established franchises. It's like, it's kind of shitty for new IPs. Like,
it's a little
do they
sad,
stand
though,
a chance?
Man.
You know,
if you think about it, it's like the greatest games of this year are remakes and remasters of older games. Like this year really has been a lot of that. Like you said, you got like Metroid, Dead Space was another one. You got Metal Gear coming out in like a month or 2.
Is it?
That's the Last of Us Part 1
collection.
Well, that's more of like a port dump. You know, it's like, is that fair to call it a remaster?
But it's still an older game re-releasing again. Like that's the weirdest thing. That's a fan.
Final Fantasy 16 is the 16th Final Fantasy, but it's not a remake or a remaster. It's its own thing because that's what Final Fantasy does for some reason.
Yeah.
I like that. There's not really been that many indie darlings this year either. Like last year, was there an Inscription last year, which I just played through, and that is a great game. I think it's only just has it been released on the Xbox this year, so maybe it's eligible, but it's not a new game, so whatever. The only one that I can really think of as an indie darling is Dredge, the weird.
I've heard a lot of good things about Dredge.
Yeah, it's like a almost horror fishing game. I don't know how else to describe it apart from horror and fishing. But it looks really good. It's something that I want to get on with. And then I know that the new Oxenfree came out just last week, I think it was, which Oxenfree, I just played through the first one again, and it's great. It's brilliant. It's only like 5 hours worth of game, but it's amazing. And I've just not heard anything about the second one, which is really weird. There's a lot of really big franchises this year. Lots of RPGs, lots of open world games, lots of stuff that I don't fuck with at all. I'm waiting for my game this year. That you guys have been swimming and doing breaststroke and so much good quality games. And, I've got my paddling pool of Jedi Survivor, and it's not really been good enough for me at the moment.
I do like Survivor. I just haven't finished it yet. It's another one of the games that I've suffered my backlog just having too many games to play. Yeah,
I do think it's going to go to Tears of the Kingdom. I wrote an article why it's not my game. So, it's on the site. Go and read it if you want. But yeah, it's too big. well, that's basically it. It's too big. I could go into loads of things, but, me and Dan would have an argument on the stream, and I don't think we want to do that right now.
No, I agree. Like I struggle with games that are too big. The only exception I have with Zelda is that it's one of those games that I don't mind losing myself in. A game like Odyssey, the Assassin's Creeds, like those are the games that like it starts to grind on me. It starts to wear on me. And I'm just like, I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of doing this. It's just, there's no magic. Whereas the new Zeldas with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's like, I can just live in that world and it doesn't faze me. So it's like, it gets a pass because of that. And you can beat those games as quickly as you want, or you can take as long as you want. Like there's no reason, there's no wrong way to play that game.
See, I think it depends on the person. I mean, there's some games that I've been able to get lost in. So like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the one that was in London. Ooh, yeah. I platinumed that game. I absolutely adored it. I think I've finished it 2 or 3 times. I was able to just I was just literally walking around London, not doing anything, because I just loved that game so much. But then you go to something like, I'll say this now, I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for like 10 hours and I could not get into it. I was so bored and I couldn't. And there's so much to do. And I did not care for it. I just wanted to go play Syndicate again. And The Witcher 3 is another game that like everyone's like, oh, it's the greatest game ever made. I played that for a couple of hours and I was like, I'm actually bored.
Oh man, same.
Because it's not, I think that there's some games that are just not for you. Yeah. And I'm getting fired now, aren't I?
No, I've actually had that conversation of like, I've had to tell people like there's games that just aren't for you. And that's something that you have to come to terms with as a player. Like,
that's it.
Just be able to say like, you have to be able to put the controller down and be like, this isn't for me, and just walk away. Like I've done that plenty of times. I'm such a gaming omnivore and I try to play everything, but like, I know I don't do strategy games. I don't do point and click so often. I don't do the super heavy narrative. I have a hard time with CRPGs as much as I want to love CRPGs. But every time I try a CRPG, I'm just kind of like, I don't care. Just go. I don't want to manage everyone in my party. I don't care. So yeah, I get that.
Oh my God. I'm 100% convinced. I'm 100% convinced Nick and I are the same person, because everything that came out of his mouth.
Yes.
What I was thinking. I was like,
oh, I thought you were completely in disagreement. I thought I so disappointed you.
Like I could play Assassin's Creed, certain ones, for like hours doing nothing. And those 2 games you named right there, Red Dead Redemption 2. I love the first one. The second one, I played for 3 to 5 hours. I go, this is so boring.
Don't make me shave my beard. I don't like shaving my beard in real life. Don't make me shave my beard in a game. Thank you very much.
With The Witcher, man. Turn that on, make out of the tutorial, whatever. I'm just like, dude, like, what am I doing? Like, this is so boring.
But these games as well, I mean, like, the biggest problem I had with both of those games is it's actually daunting how much there is to do. It's like, literally, it's like, where do I go? What do I start with? But it depends on the game, because I felt exactly the same about Horizon Forbidden West. I thought there's too much to do. I was actually overwhelmed and had to stop playing. And then I got back to it, and I've got the platinum in that over, like, I think it took me about 104 hours, because I couldn't put it down once I got into it. And it was because of something that just, it interested me more.
I
and you don't have to cut Aloy's hair every 3 seconds.
Right. I referenced that before too. I was talking to someone about like the plague of PlayStation studio games, where they're all trying to do the same thing with the big open world with all of the things to do. And it's like, I had the problem with Horizon, the first one, where it's like, I did not care about anything that was happening in that game until the final like 15 hours or so. And I'm like, why did I have to play for 60 hours to get to this? Like, because I didn't care about anything that happened before that, but that final few missions of the story are so good and so beautiful. It's like, and I want to echo Red Dead. It's funny that you mentioned that too, because I've actually gone back to Red Dead because I had the same problem where I spent like 30 hours in Red Dead doing nothing, just being a cowboy in the West, not playing the story. But I've recently gone back to playing Red Dead Redemption, and I'm just beelining the story. It's way more interesting if you just play the story and just tell all the strangers and other randos to fuck off and just shoot people as they come at you. Like, there's always a person on the side road like, please help me, stranger. And I just shoot him in the face and keep going.
Shut up, boy.
Like, no, you're either just trying to rob me and steal my horse, or you're going to make me do some bullshit I don't want to do.
You're going to get a prompt on the screen like the whole town will remember that.
Yeah, right.
So Tears of the Kingdom is my prediction to summarize.
Yeah, that's what's going to win.
To summarize, Tears of the Kingdom is looking to be most likely going to win Game of the Year. But man, maybe we need to start a petition and be like, there needs to be more than one Game of the Year this year.
Dude, I think so.
At least 3.
And not just because it's a Zelda game year, but just because I think there's 4 games that are deserving of Game of the Year this year.
Oh, sure. All right, everybody. After the show, we're going to break and we're going to start emailing Jeff Keighley and like Dan Stapleton over at IGN. Like there has to be like Zelda has to be like, okay, that's Zelda. We know that one, but also we're going to make a few more trophies for some of these
Zelda's
other
in this
games.
Box over here. Everything else is going to be over here.
Like we have to be able to give others a time, a place because they deserve it. Yeah.
Oh, the developers would hate that. They'd be like, we don't want a participation trophy.
Well, I don't think a participation trophy. I'm just saying I think there needs to be like at least 3 Game of the Years.
Yeah. It's sad when the name alone, you can guarantee it. Like people were predicting this last year. Tears of the Kingdom's coming out next year. Yeah. We already know it's Game of the Year. Like that's sad just from a name in general that we can already tell what is Game of the Year. Like I think it's pretty sad.
It's good though. It's
only because Breath of the Wild was so damn good. Yeah. Now, if you look back, the 2 previous Zelda games were not well received. Like Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess weren't nearly as well received though. So it was.
But I think there's enough well-received games in the series.
That's very true.
It's still got its name. I mean, I was going to say, that happens in other industries as well. I'll use an example of a movie this year. I mean, Oppenheimer is going to absolutely clean out at the Oscars. And just because, I'm not saying just because, but very much because it's a Christopher Nolan movie and it's got the budget and it's been put out there. I think that it's very much a front runner for most of the Oscars and big awards come award season.
Yeah, it's like
it's like a Legend of Zelda kind of thing. Yeah.
It's hard to topple the giant kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Fast X, is it? So.
I mean, we can hold out hope.
Meg 2.
Meg 2.
Can't wait. All of the Oscars. Yeah. All right, there you guys have it. That's what it is. It's going to be Zelda plus other games. Like, I am actually serious about this. I want to try to make this a thing. Just start doing like a tweet petition of like, we need more than one Game of the Year this year.
And Game of the Year number 5 is
Games of
only up.
And in 8th place goes.
No,
there is no numbers. There's no ranking. Just Games of the Year.
Yeah,
that's it. They just all have it.
Cool. We should as CouchSoup do our own awards at the end of the year.
That's right.
We'll call them the Soupies.
The Soupies.
The Soupies.
We'll get some Soupies. We'll get you some smashes, some screens, some screens.
Yes.
Some smashers.
We're going to determine the smashies. Who's winning a smashie this year?
Smash award.
The special smash.
That sounds like a different type of award, man.
The smashies.
The smashies.
We already got something planned up for that later.
Wow.
Imagine that acceptance speech. I've been waiting my whole life for a smashie.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to finally earn the coveted smashie.
So honored to get a smashie from Dan.
The smashie of the year goes to.
I was due for a good smashie.
Well, on that note,
this has gone off the rails.
This has been Screen Smashie. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Ian. I will see you all. We will see you guys next week on Screen Smash. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Peace. Smashy.
Yes.
Smashy.
Smashy.